And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guests are Christopher Stephen Jacobs, psychic medium, remote viewer, and channeler, and his partner Joanna Michaels, who is also a remote viewer. Together, they have co-created The Lifting, which we're going to learn about and more. Christopher and Joanna, thanks for joining me and welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. This is great that you had us on your show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, how did you guys get into all this stuff in the first place?
Well, actually, it was before I met her in 2017, but before that, I was doing different land clearings and different energetic work on people and paranormal work prior to ever getting on anybody's radio shows or any podcasts or anything like that. That started in 2013, and then I went from paranormal research to doing energetic work on people, psychic readings, pulling attachments off people. But the way I got really into that was even further back when I was in my 20s. I had an accident, had a near-death experience, and then had my skills enhanced prior to that.
Wow, I didn't even know you had an NDE. And so if you don't mind, what happened to you during that accident?
What occurred was, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but what occurred was that in 2009, I was actually going across a crosswalk and I had a car hit me. And then I got blacked out and then basically woke up in this area. It looked like a wooded area. That was dimensionally, you could tell there were beings from different areas that were coming into this space that were all conversing with each other and then talking to me. And from my perspective, I was there for like 2 weeks, and along with them, it wasn't like you go to sleep and then wake up the next morning and you count the days that way. It was the equivalent to like that, and I was awake the whole time there. Where then after a couple of weeks, the beings that were there going, okay, Chris, you have to go back now. And then I went back and I wake up on the pavement with a sheet over the top of me. And
Wow.
the firemen had put the sheet over the top of me, or the paramedics. And I scared the crap out of them because I flipped the sheet off of me, and about 8 or 9 firefighters turned around and went, like that. But they're like, oh crap. But then I noticed that, I had significant injuries, and that's when the pain hit, and that's when I got sent to the hospital.
Let me ask you this. Were you clinically dead and that's why they put the sheet over you?
Mm-hmm. They said I had been literally dead for an hour. So,
Wow.
and that's what they told me later on, that everything was stopped, heart, brain, everything. So came back, and I already could do some channeling stuff before then and do medium work and paranormal work and all that beforehand. But when I noticed when I came back with extra fuel in that area. And I was able to, my brain kind of rewired itself, and I was able to actually see into people's energy, see where there was an attachment, or if they had a possession, or if they had influence from outside, be it either demonic or alien, what have you, anything like that. So when I first started seeing these things, then other beings started showing up that wanted to speak, from alien to cryptid to any interdimensional type of being, good, bad, ugly, all in between. Either the good guys wanted to talk or the bad guys wanted to beat you up. So it's kind of all in between. You get that gray, no pun intended, ugly area in between there. That some are just kind of neutral. They really don't care if they converse with you or not. And then you have the ones that don't want to be seen. You see them, they beat you up, that kind of thing. And then you have the ones that are kind and respectful, like the forest people or Sasquatch. So you have all in between of all these types that then they come in throngs. They just completely just show up and bug you all hours of the night wanting to talk. And I noticed I had to set up boundaries very quickly with beings, like different beings from different places and different dimensions. And I know some of them didn't know what I meant by what time it was. So I would just go outside and I said, you see the way the sky is aligned or the way the star pattern is, if it was at night, they're like, yes, this will be the time I talk to you. I can't have you come in at all hours of the day, that kind of thing. And they were perfectly okay with that. They understood when I showed them star alignments and things of that nature. That's how I knew they were either elemental or alien. That went by Earth and Moon and Sun rotations, things of that nature. So, excuse me. Yeah, it gets to be kind of hectic after a while, or it did, hearing all of the noise and all of the chatter that was out there. And before I could kind of hear it, after the accident, I definitely could hear it. So then I got into doing energetic work on people after my guides at the time urged me to go to the public arena, pretty much. And that was roughly in 2013, 14. I got on someone else's show. And then in 2015, I got on a live broadcast, did channelings on there. And then after that is when her and I started conversing. Then I went out to North Carolina where she was, and we started the lifting after that.
When you got hit, you were a pedestrian, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Were you
Walking on a crosswalk.
Walking
Yeah.
on a crosswalk.
Did you feel the impact, or were you out of your body before the impact happened?
No, I did feel it. I even heard the sound of my leg breaking. So yeah, in my right leg, I have a permanent bar in there, and my left knee was messed up. See, I got slingshotted on my left knee. I was conscious enough to get hit and then catapulted. So he was going 40, then he stops, and then I shot off. So yeah, my right leg broke.
Wow.
So the tibia and fibula both snapped or shattered. So I had to have a bar put in there, but I was conscious long enough to actually hear the bone break. So I remember the sound. It sounded kind of like if you wrapped like foil in like a wet towel and went and crunched it or crunched. Yeah, that's what that sounded like. And long enough to hear that, and then it hurt, and then I was out. So
When you first got over there, you saw other beings, right?
yes.
What did they look like?
There was a whole different variety of them. Most of them were big giant people. Like if you were to stand next to one of them, they were roughly like 15 feet and up. They looked human. They looked more like big Vikings, is what they looked like, or Scandinavian people. Then you had little elementals running around that looked like little gnomes or like Gizmo from the Gremlins movie. Then you had others that were running around in the forest, like looked like little monkeys, things of that nature. Then you had other people that looked like normal humans, different size, colors, shapes. But the majority of what I saw were giant Scandinavian looking people. And they basically said that they were in a dimensional space, that they could basically meet me in a neutral space and talk to my soul or my light body, pretty much. And they said that they could converse with me as long as they needed to in that space, that it wouldn't really affect me. But a bunch of time passed over there, and only a little time passed here. But after a while, they said, yes, I had to go back. They didn't explain why. Then I figured out why when I got back is because I had been clinically dead an hour, and any longer than that, and it wouldn't have been feasible to come back. So they were on a timetable. It was just slightly different than ours.
Now, you mentioned that you are able to see when a person is possessed.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
Well, when I look into someone's energy core, it looks like water, because since the body is mostly water, I see the energy field of the water that goes through the body, and it has this purple blue capacity to it. It looks like flowing water, and like water, if a rock is put in water, of course the water hits it and then splits or goes over the top, or if there's a dam, it stops it. If it's stopped, if all the water is stopped up somewhere, I know something is in the way. There's something that would be like the equivalent to a rock. With a possession, there's an entire being stuck in there that is being the rock holding the space. When this occurs, then I'm able to bilocate to that person's location, reach into the person's core and pull the other obstruction of the being out. Attachments follow the same thing. Parasitical attachments follow the same kind of gradient, where they will stop up an energy meridian and you have to pull it out like you would a sliver or a splinter. A being will just sit in someone's abdomen, hold the space, and then slowly take them over personality-wise. Oppression comes from the outside and does something similar. Possession is something that's literally internal inside the person. And that one's slightly more difficult to remove. Oppression, you can block it with a number of different means, from orgone to mirrors to these type of hats I wear, like EMF protecting, any of that kind of stuff. Silver, brass, copper, any of those types of things. With possession, you literally have to reach in there, grab the being, whatever it is, and throw it out of them. And I learned how to literally touch these different beings by fluctuating my frequency to wherever they were and just grab them and toss them out. Once they're out, they can be a pain in the butt because you don't know what it is that's been crammed in there until you get a really good look at it. It could be anywhere from a demon to an alien consciousness to a ghost to anything like that. And you throw it out, and then if it's a ghost, I send it on to spirit. If it's a demon, I get rid of it. And the way I get rid of it is transmuting it. And what I do is I just visualize its head coming off and then putting it in a box and then transmuting it into nature or light energy. And so I make it sound simple, but in some cases, some of these are fairly obstinate to take care of. Some of them fight, some of them don't. But I know when I see something inside of someone, it has to go because it's not their natural state of being. It's not their natural energy flow. You always hear them talking about like the flow of chi through the body. That's essentially what I'm talking about with something that's obstructing that. What they're trying to do is diminishing your connection to true benevolent source creator, and they're also trying to diminish your connection to your own soul and your own body. They're trying, and your own senses and your emotions. They're trying to put you in a depressed, angry, really horrible state. And ghosts, they will possess people because some of them just don't want to move on to the afterlife. Because of some religious belief or something reason they want to stay, or they just want to cause problems. So I remove those from people. And what that looks like to me is just a flow of water, and I've thrown a rock in the stream, and I'm just removing the rock from the stream. Is essentially what I'm doing.
What makes a person susceptible to having these things done to them?
Any number of things. It could be familial, like lineage. It could be an ancestor that had entered into some kind of agreement in antiquity somewhere that nobody remembers. It could be even immediate family, like father, mother, grandfather, grandmother. It could be anything like that. It could be the genetic susceptibility or consent someone else gave, like a lineage curse contract, things of that nature. That's more jinn environment there, or alien environment. Or they might have an energetic susceptibility to where they just don't have a certain protection built up, or they're unaware of how to do it. Or they could have a family member that knew how to do it and passed it on to them. And these other beings that are negative are wanting to stifle that ability. So that could make somebody vulnerable until they realize they have this ability, and then they can put an end to what's going on. Some of these negative beings want to stifle people that have these abilities because a long time ago they were able to scare people immediately, like in antiquity. They were able to play tricks on them and everything. Nowadays, people are more fascinated with these things, and they're not scared of them. And these beings are trying to up their game a little bit by messing with people more. And they don't like to be seen. They stayed in the shadows for thousands of years. They don't like to be seen. Sasquatch is different. They want people to communicate with them. They want people to see them, but on their terms. So they're different. Apparently I found out we had an alliance with them a long time ago, and they want to rekindle that from ancient times. They want to basically be our brothers and sisters again, right, out in the open. But they can't because they have plenty of enemies. We have plenty of enemies, and humanity's forgotten a lot of those things over a long period of time. So they're kind of slowly reintroducing themselves. And also, thanks to the other bad guys out there, some of the demonic forces, it's making life difficult for both sides. So,
And the one thing I think that's interesting to say here is that what we've learned really that we like to share with people is, first of all, that no one's helpless to this, but the let's just say the dark manipulation, those kind of bad guys that mess with people. Most people think, and they did the movies, The Exorcist and things like that, where you see this dramatic. And I'm not going to say that that can't happen. But as Chris was saying, when you have beings that like to cause havoc when they don't want you to know about them, they're not going to necessarily be causing things that's that dramatic in your life, but they are causing havoc. They could get you to fight. They could get you to misunderstand. They could get you to, have all these problems. We actually, some beings, they literally, if you can just imagine them jumping on person to person to person. And for that second that they're on them, they cause a misunderstanding, a confusion or something, or can enhance maybe frustrations that could lead to a fight. It's not necessarily something as dramatic.
Say the Exorcist. Yeah.
Right, as an exorcist type of possession. But for a moment or so, that's really what has happened. And so when we talk about energies and we talk about, energy work and the protection of your energies and how do you do this and how do you learn how to do this, it's our belief system that everyone can learn how. It's just not something that was introduced into their life as a young person. And then how do you go about protecting your life, understanding who you are so that if something is messing with you, it's going to probably make you feel like who you aren't. You have to recognize that to be able to deal with it and not let something take hold and to kind of be able to push it away. So we're all about, as far as the spiritual education side, the spiritual growth side, so that people can feel more in charge of their lives so they can have the life that they want, more than, not realizing that these other things do happen to them and happen to most people, believe it or not, even if it's just subtle things here or there. It's like you could have yelled at somebody and gotten really frustrated. Then next minute you're thinking, why did I do that? Something as simple as that, not to give everybody excuse that an external force, but there certainly are a lot of times where there is an external force that's contributing to that.
I've noticed a lot that takes place, like with both demonic and even some elemental forces, where even if something as simple as going to Walmart, for instance, I've seen parasitical attachments bounce from people to people to people. I visually see it to where I can just bounce it off of me. I've even seen ghouls and all this other stuff going through store environments like that, where they're literally even aliens, they're following people around in different environments, of different shapes and sizes and colors too. I've seen that, or what people believe are spirit guides. I've seen them follow people around. I try not to open up in public. It's very dangerous to do that. You light up like a torch and you become a target at that point. I try to only do these type of things at home or in a protected environment, like a home temple space or something of that nature. I've learned the hard way doing it in public is a bad idea. In very rare exceptions to that. We were up in Salem, Massachusetts years ago in 2016. I did a channel up there, and we're also in Boston. I paid for that for like 6 or 8 months because my energy got so rattled by that I had to have somebody else help me out. So but there's just certain environments it's a no-no to do that kind of thing, and no matter what's going on, unless it's a genuine emergency of some kind, not smart to do it in a public environment, especially with a lot of people around. You don't know what they have on you. You don't know what's following them. And if you light up, you're going to have 1,000 things turn and look at you. Let's see, what's that bright light in the corner kind of thing. So I've learned that the hard way. She's learned that the hard way too. It's happened to her. We've gone to haunted sites, things of that nature. And we just have to not open up in places like that. It gets pretty hairy after.
You said that you're wearing an EMF hat, right?
Yes.
What other tips can you share with us that we can do to protect ourselves from this?
Yeah, so you know what? I think one of the very first things that we talk about is, first of all, understanding that you are a co-creative being, that all of us are. And so the one thing that people really have to dust off that was inborn to them, but a lot of it's been tampered down from birth for one reason or another, are, first of all, learning how to protect your energies and discernment, those two things. So when we talk about protecting energies, what we like for people to do is, this is where you use, and it could be, some people are saying the imagination center, and we'd say yes, because that co-creative force is also coming from that same area. So what you have to do is you have to see yourself more than just your body. Think of yourself as radiating energy off your body. One of the first things we say is some people are like way out there. They see themselves and their energies way out there. And we say, you don't want to do that. You want to bring your energies back down.
Keep it close.
You want to keep it a little bit closer. You know what I mean? And so what you want to do is think of that and think of that you're more than what you currently think of. Bring your energies in some. And then basically you can use all kind of intentional, imaginatory, using your imagination ways of doing it. The one thing I think of as if you take mirrors wherever that boundary is and you put the mirrors all around, including above your head and below, and then turn them outwards. Okay, so basically what you're doing is you're saying, basically that my energies are protected and I don't want anything that is not for my highest good to penetrate this boundary that I meaning I'm not going to carry your knapsack of problems, meaning I'm not going to carry, you know what I mean, and allow these attachments to come on me to the best of my abilities. We also say and understand that a parent can do this for a child, a grandparent can do this for a grandchild, because there is leeway while those children are growing. And somewhere in the middle teenage years, there's kind of a crossover that there's a feeling that a person should now start learning their own protection skills. But that's a very basic one. And I always we do use Walmart. It's a great place to use because there's so many different people, so many different energies that go through there. And I always joke with people, I said, how many people go to Walmart and leave there exhausted? You feel completely drained. So what we say is you need to shield up, be very conscious of what you're doing, and you better mean it. The one thing, a lot of people is they're always a little doubtful. And so it's like, well, I think I'm protected. No, you can't think that way. You have to be strong. I am protected. I have done this and I mean it. And you really have to be strong with that intention. And so if people start to do this, I always say, now go into Walmart, now come back out of Walmart. People are usually surprised that they feel better. Something has changed, they feel better. And it's the first step towards people actually taking charge and understanding that it's your job to protect your energies. And it's a simple thing that can be done to prove to yourself that there's something, that we are actually talking about. And then we talk about a lot of things as well. One of the areas where we say people accidentally give consent to be messed with is, believe it or not, in dream time. We've done a lot of discussions about what happens during dream times. The simplest thing I say is you wake up in the morning and you say, I revoke any agreement I ever made in dream time. Just revoke it. You won't even remember it. But benevolence never will come into your dream time to do anything. It's never going to happen.
They will do small things, and maybe greet you, but other than that, they're not going to do any sort of harassment or trickery or anything like that.
But malevolence will, and they're not going to be telling you the truth. They could say, hey, take this piece of candy, or come over and get in my car, or do something. And then to them, that's an agreement that you just made that they can mess with you. So it's not done in very, and people that are started working on their dreams are starting to catch on to some of the things that we're saying because they're remembering and they're working on it. But one of the best things you can do is revoke any agreements you made during dream time.
What about right before you go to sleep? Can you say or think something like, okay, any negative entities, you're not allowed to be with me in my dreams or something?
Oh yeah, most definitely. You can go into with the intention that your sleeping space and your home space is more of a temple space, that no negativity can enter that particular space. There's also external ways of doing things too, different stones, different things of that nature you can have around you. I've noticed hematite is a good one, and amethyst is another good one to have on bedstands because it grounds you more to the earth. And I think something like amethyst is actually helping protect the dream time, but it's mutually beneficial. You go into it with the intention, you go into it with the mantras, with the revocations, things of that nature, but then you also have external reinforcement as well.
Yeah, and we would say, I would love to say that if you declare that they can't come in, that they wouldn't. But you're dealing with beings that don't honor that. So we would say you want to have strong intention, but again, wake up and revoke any agreements you made in dream time just to make sure you've covered it all.
Mhm.
If you have a being attached to you or oppressing you, or maybe even possessing you, can you eject them from your energy field yourself?
Yes, yes, there is a visualization, an energetic visualization to assist with that. Like, say if you had something within you, we'll go with the hardest one first. Um, Say if you had a possession and you recognize that your thoughts aren't yours and you recognize that your actions are not your own. That's the first step. The second one is visualizing a light coming out from within you, like an explosion. I call it the supernova, the technique where you are blasting that being or energy outside of you and visualizing it outside of you. There's also, well, the same goes for attachments. If you have an attachment on you, and you know, even by in your own imagination, you feel like there's something there, or you feel it. Visualize also your hand along with that outward technique. Visualize your hand just picking it off and throwing it to the side and basically bursting it into flames. That's how I do it. It's just gone, like you're burning a piece of paper or something. But to the possession, it may seem like it's more difficult, but at the same time, the more you exercise that muscle, the more you're going to be able to repel them in the future and then put that shield around you. Things will less likely want to even attempt coming at you if you have that kind of energetic protection up. I've had to do that multiple times in the past where things have leapt into me, from ghosts to any of those things. Any foreign consciousnesses, anything that isn't you does not belong there. So basically what you're doing is you're exploding a bomb pretty much under that water and pushing that being out. It's basically a will or a will force type of thing. Think Star Wars with like the Jedi Force, things of that here. Think of that kind of thing when you go into this. And you might be even up against certain beings that might have a similar capability or equal capability. But usually the ones that are possessing you are usually the ones that are trying to use you as a shield of some kind, or like a vehicle, like you've got into a car and drive. They're trying to do that. They don't belong there, push them out. That's usually how I do it.
And again, these are skills that are built over time. So I don't want, you know what I mean? I don't want people to think that magically tomorrow, that if they've never even attempted this work, that they're going to be, you know, proficient at it. We got to at least say that.
Like any bodybuilder has to lift weights. So
Right,
yeah.
you have to kind of work at this. But do we believe that most people, if they dedicated time to it, could learn these skills? Absolutely, that it's really possible. It's innate in us. And one of the things that we talk about, the importance of discernment, is the fact that I like to use the little girl example. So here's little Sally Mae, and she was told, you know, it's time to recess and you can go play in the sandbox with Linda Jo. And she doesn't want to go play in the sandbox with Linda Jo. She doesn't get a good feeling around Linda Jo. And she tells her teacher, I don't have a good feeling about Linda Jo. So what the teacher tells poor Sally is that not only are you going to go play with Linda Jo, but you're going to go apologize for having those bad feelings about her, right? So the truth of the matter is that, you know, I'm not going to say it's every time, but most of the time, natural discernment skills have kind of been beat out of us. We've been told to ignore them, not to accept them, but everybody is born in with discernment. And what the discernment means is what is good for me right at this moment. A second grader who ends up in a physics class probably knows that they don't belong there, right? And their discernment says, I don't belong there. But a senior in high school should be just fine in that same environment. So discernment is about, you know, looking at something for the current present moment. And should I be a part of that? Should I not be a part of that? And that is something, again, that people have so ignored in their personal lives, right? In their friendships, in their work commitments, because it's been something that you've been told to ignore your whole life. So in this process of what we say, the spiritual healing and gaining sovereignty and genuine authenticity, which is really what this is all about, is that you have to dust that off. You have to start learning that it's innate for a reason. And I tell people a simple, practical skill to try to remember what it feels like And so I tell people, if you can close your eyes for a minute and you can think of something you really, really love, and I mean genuinely love. It could be a person, it could be an animal, it could be a plant, it could be anything, but it genuinely gives you love and joy. What you tend to feel is an energy that comes from your chest and pulls outward. It like pulls you towards what you're thinking of, and it's this genuine kind of pull. Versus if you think about something you really hate, it's in the pit of your stomach. It's like taking your fist and pushing it inward in your stomach. You want to kind of naturally bend over. That is discernment, a basic discernment skill, so that people can start dusting that off. And then what happens, unfortunately, since people have kind of ignored it their whole life, then what do you do with that information? Because people are going to be surprised how many things give them a pit in their stomach, that what am I involved in or what am I doing? And then what are you going to do about it? So one of the things, in order to become more sovereign and genuine and authentic, is that you must start honoring those discernments and putting yourself back in balance spiritually, instead of ignoring all of that. And so those are, again, all these different skills that people need to learn and grow, that will help bring them in balance, so that they can create experiences that they really do want, instead of having experiences that they don't want.
Are the Sasquatch a multi-dimensional being?
Yes, they are actually. There is a beginning of the lineage that actually was more alien. They came here a long time ago, and their descendant lineages are essentially some of the more physical Sasquatch that you're seeing around now. There's some of the extremely old ones that are still here, tens of thousands years old, and then there's the ones that are hundreds of years old, and then there's the current generation of them. They came from the Atlantean period and back 10,000 plus years ago, and then some even 100,000 plus years ago from outer space. I came to find out. That's in a line that we call the Anakam line. They were more the spacefaring. That's why you see UFOs and such around them a lot of times, because those are ones that are actually coming and going from spaceships. They look just like the other ones, but those are the more, I shouldn't say more evolved. That's rude. It's more that they're more energetic capable. Most of the ones I have run across are multifaceted, multi-dimensional, and they use sound, the sound from their vocal cords to travel to different frequencies. I've even seen some in the other dimensions before. Whereas I've seen some on the other sides of portals. I've even seen some that are just in other frequencies. They could be standing right next to you. You'd never see them. That's true of both good and bad beings. You have dogmen, like werewolf figures, that are like that too, that can go between dimensions, and you have the forest people. They're multifaceted. They could use that vocal pitch to access a particular frequency and jump to that particular frequency, just like if we changed a radio dial. And they claim we are quite capable of the same identical talents as they. We've just forgot how to do a lot of that as time passed. That's why they want to also build that bridge. Now, for when you, like, say if you see a footprint in the snow or in the dirt or something like that, they want you to see that because they're trying to build that bridge. They've selected you to speak to at that particular time. The only time that it doesn't apply is if it's a young one or an adolescent of some kind that's made a mistake somewhere. But then you have some that just speak in like glyphs, like X's, and with tree branches, things of that nature. All of them do the X to keep you out of the territory. Some will talk in stones and glyphs and things of that nature. Other ones are more telepathic. Some will mind speak to you. It just depends on what tribe, what chieftain leader they have, what origins they had, how far removed they were from their original origins, things of that nature. There's other types of cryptids like that are more nasty. There's like troll types and things of that nature that aren't Sasquatch, that have been mistaken for Sasquatch. But the genuine Sasquatch are, most of them that I have seen have been multidimensional, multifaceted, and most of them can talk telepathically. And they can sense your intentions before you even walk into a forest area, and they've already decided whether they want to talk to you or not. Even some of the other ones that aren't that as far along with the mind speak, will also determine whether they even want to speak to you or not. Some of them can be rude, some of them can be nasty, but other ones, most of them are genuinely good. Some of them just don't want you in their territory at that particular moment in time, and they'll want you to leave. That's where discernment comes in. If you don't feel like you're welcome in a particular wooded area, turn around, walk away, you're probably near a colony or something that their posted sentinel doesn't want you anywhere near. It's no judgment against you. They don't want any humans. So, but when they want to make contact, they will push to make that particular contact. They will want to build that bridge. I've encountered so many forest people, so many different cryptid types that want to talk, but the forest people above, a lot of them have maintained a steady communication with us. That's why we opened up another brand other than the lifting called the World of Sasquatch, because they above, it seems above all the rest of them, have been extremely genuine, have been extremely caring, and also have been extremely helpful, and have also been extremely apt to communicate, talk about their people, and talk about their life. So with us, in an attempt to get their voice back out there again, out there with the public. And they also wanted to inform people that some people that think they've interacted with forest people haven't. They've talked to us about those type of conversations as well, where some people used to, but then some other negative entity stepped in somewhere, or trickery stepped in somewhere. They said that they have to kind of dance on the razor's edge with several of that activity, a lot of that activity going on. But yes, they are extremely multidimensional, extremely interested in forming a bridge with humanity again. So I could go into channeling if you would like to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hmm.
Are you a
Okay.
trance channel, or are you consciously aware of what's going on?
Oh, I'm definitely consciously aware of what is going on, and like what. Okay, I'll describe channel a little bit. It technically, according to them, they would say it is technically kind of a form of possession. Uh, Actually, it's not really kind of, it is, but it's a benevolent form. The word possession has a negative connotation usually around it, but channel is the kinder version of that. Whereas they will step into me temporarily to speak. I don't let any being completely take over. I made that mistake many years ago. I'm not doing that again, even with beings I absolutely like. So they respect that boundary and they will talk through me. But then when they notice that I'm starting to wane or get tired, they will say, okay, we are backing off now. We're closing the conduit, things of that nature. But yeah, it is not, it is more of more of, not necessarily a trance, but it is more of it's more of a channel or a type of possession, if you want to go there. But sorry for the raspy voice. We had a fairly bad cold. So people are listening. That's why my voice sounds like this. So it's become quite annoying actually, because what I do is talk. So it's kind of annoying. So
Your voice sounds fine to me.
okay, I guess it's just from my perspective, but okay, I guess I will go into this and see. All right, and I also show the audience, we make these pieces that are of the forest people. This foot, I use this to kind of buffer the channel, the energy of their image. I also have statues that are behind me on the shelf back there as well that I had made. So
Is that a footprint with trees in it?
yes, yes, it is. It's a see,
Cool.
it has a
Oh yeah, it's cool. And you have a
yeah.
Sasquatch at the bottom.
Yeah, and I make these, and I use these as channel pieces. I sometimes will use a crystal as well for any other being, but for them, they prefer their own images be used.
Do you
They say, so they always joke, they say they have license over their own image. And so no matter who's doing what with it, they like to say, we have trademark, we have copyright, that kind of thing. That's the running joke that goes on. So they use our terminology so we can understand certain things too. So
You want me to do the opening?
yeah, do you want to do law of one and
I
then
think
yeah,
so.
okay.
We always like to have an opening and a closing to these things to kind of protect the channel as best as possible. So we always do a version of the law of one. So I'll do that now. We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now with no conflicting agenda to come in and to support this conversation so that it may be had in peace and understanding. We ask for malevolent or mischievous beings now to be swept away in order for this conversation to also be had in peace. And again, with great blessings that we send your way, we say, so be it.
Okay. The one that is coming through now, his name is Fuma. He's one of the ones that I spoke to about when we lived in Arizona. I even have a picture of Fuma. Yeah, reach over so the audience can see that. Yeah, it's right behind me over here, Michael.
We were
Now,
in
did,
Arizona on a mountain called Thumb Butte. And Chris, we'd go up there sometimes and Chris would channel. Fuma one day, I don't know if you can see that up there, it's him phasing in.
Mm-hmm.
it looks
Fuma,
like he's really tall, like 8 foot
Yes.
tall.
yeah, and he doesn't have a neck. So if you're looking like a head that's put right onto a body. But he
Yeah.
was actually up there and said, walk to the end here, and then just told Chris to turn around and take a picture. And that was this picture that was
Yeah,
taken. Now,
that's
we
this one,
didn't
yeah.
obviously see him until the picture was formed. But it's definitely, a phasing in.
And you can see through him, that shows that he's in a different frequency layer, but he met me enough to where the picture was possible to take. The ones that are getting the more solid ones, those are ones that have slid even further into this frequency, or we've come to meet them at least halfway. They set the kind of the energetic environment, kind of like a fishbowl, where you either have fresh water or salt water. It's kind of like that concept, to where they've set that stage to where that's possible. Fuma, I know you want to come through here. Hang on, right through it. All right. Yeah, Fuma. And he always says it helps having his own image around too, because it's something he can work through. Any images of the forest people they can use, like statues, anything they can use to talk through as an edifice, they call it, or a go-between. And so, Fuma. Yes, indeed. My name is Fuma. My normal place that I normally call home is northern Arizona, around Thumb Butte and in and around the Sedona area. A lot of my people walk and migrate through the Mogollon Rim of Sedona. My grandfather, Sufas, is the chieftain head or one of the heads of the Prescott and Prescott Valley area. People are always confused how we can be around homes and be around people in cities. It is because we're multi-dimensional and multifaceted frequency-wise and can walk near people. Some people see us as shadow beings in and around their home, but also gray aliens and beings of that nature also hold that title more. That tends to have a negative connotation with people. But some of that activity and orb activity, some of that is ours as well. They know quite well the orb activity when they had a large mirror in their home, and our people were using it to traverse back and forth with different lit orbs. Elementals, other elemental forms use this, as well as some of them are tiny spaceships that some beings go into. Kind of think of your TARDIS from your Doctor Who, where it was bigger on the inside. A whole crew can be in there. That's why some of our people are also known for going into orbs. We're not transmuting into the orb. We are literally beaming into a spaceship that could be this big. So, like I said, bigger on the inside. So this communications, we always look forward to these types of communications because we also get to forward that energy and forward that message. And our message mainly is this: we wish to broker communications with our human brothers and sisters, again, our cousins again. We always say big brother and little brother walk together. We are doing this for that particular purpose. We wish to also have a seat at the galactic table and with you would call it a galactic senate, where we are trying to get recognized in that same boat and having humanity stand beside us there in that arena. They see us as earther like you, even though we are ancestrally from out there. But so it is taking some time to actually get that kind of recognition. So if you have questions, I would be happy to answer.
What can you tell us about the history of humanity?
This I know has to be condensed, but in short, your people came from outer space. You are literally a galactic race that has literally forgotten its origins. You did not evolve here. You were experimented on here by Anunnaki and other groups such as the Orion groups and things of that nature, and other races have added their DNA. What people are remembering from a galactic perspective, being drawn to things like Star Trek and Star Wars and things of that nature, being drawn out into space. It's like the movie 65, where you saw the character come in from outside. That's exactly the history that took place. Even though there were beings here, such as and planets here, such as your Asgard and the kingdom of the gods. After a while, where do you think those gods came from? They were from out there. These were all the legends and stories, and most of them are from people that came from outside, seeded Earth, made it safe. And by making it safe, I mean extincted some of the dinosaurs. With that, made it safe and seeded the Earth. And then other beings were able to evolve. Other beings also experimented and created other beings, like certain hominids and things of that nature, that we generally are associated with. Are we cousins to some of those hominids? Are we related? Yes, we are. We are not saying that we aren't some missing link somewhere. But the history of humanity, in short, you came from out there. You are literally the galactics that you are wanting to go back out there and search for. You are, this is why humanity on Earth feels so out of place sometimes. This is why your circadian rhythms are off. This is why you sunburn. This is why you have allergies to things. You are not necessarily native to this world. Different cultures from all over the galaxy came to Earth, seeded it, and added their own people there. You literally just forgot. There was so much time that passed. You literally forgot where you came from. And then religion and other indoctrination came in and said you evolved there. And certain science, like your Darwin and all of them, natural selection, said, oh, you evolved here. No, there are other beings that were created here. Your genome was also added to here by a number of different beings. You also were in a galactic war as well that allowed, unfortunately, for some of you to be basically killed, resurrected, and brought back from bones, literally. So, with that said, over the past 500,000 years, with that said, after all of that, you still deep down know that you did not come from Earth. Even if you have blendings of DNA from Earth and from out there, your true origins lie from out in the galaxy.
It appears that there are different races of humans on Earth. Are the different races from different planets?
Yes. If you think back, there's even a South Park episode that actually disclosed that, where it was one race, one planet. They went into a joking haha mode with that particular episode, but it was 100% true, showing that different races of humans literally came from different planets and they came together. Some people call it a grand experiment, but that's not necessarily a good connotation. It's more or less they colonized. The DNAs got mixed. After a while, they stuck to some of their own corners. They had descendant lineage that got experimented on and got DNA added to them from other cultures outside. And this is voila, you have Earth, where you have literally, say you have Asian, they come from a different planet. You have dark-skinned people, they come from a different planet. You have white people, they come from a different planet. You see, and also some of it got mixed. Some people evolved differently to have different mixed DNAs. That's why you have Neanderthal. That's why you have all of the DNAs within you from all the races. But originally, it was one race, one planet, or even two races, one planet. They came here, and some things got blended. DNAs got blended over a period of time, and this is how you have your current population now.
When will humanity be allowed to join the galactic family?
It is more or less not necessarily just an allowance per se. It is more or less, are you ready to recognize people not only that are different from you as equals, but also people that are more alien from you as equals, but also do you even know who you truly are? Once this is answered, also the fact that don't align with any foreign organizations that are out there. There's a galactic federation that would like nothing more than to come in here and add Earth as a member world. That is not necessarily a good thing. What you want is to create your own federation, like on Star Trek, create your own unity. Agree to disagree, even if you fervently disagree politically or religiously or what have you, culturally with someone else. It's agree to disagree. You don't have to have the people over for dinner. You don't have to do any of that. Just don't hurt each other. When you are at that stage, then you will start to see more and more contact. Just like say in your Middle East or in your other war-torn areas. Once a lot of this activity stops or begins to calm down, and I'm not saying other forces aren't stoking the fires, which that is actually happening. Once that starts to actually calm down, then you will start to genuinely see more contact in that way.
Are you aware of what the pyramids were built for?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it has actually been discovered already that it was used as they were used as a power plant, and this is true. Some of that energy, and because they entered the form of Orion, uh, this was more of an energy collection. These were negative beings that retrofitted the pyramids to transmit their codex and to transmit energy to themselves in Orion. But before that was retrofitted that way, it was set up as a power plant station. The main pyramid, the Great Pyramid specifically, was set up as part of a free energy grid, communications grid. It was hijacked after a while and turned into other things for energy collection and other forms of communication. Like I said, what a codex is where you can copy and paste a different DNA pattern from one being to the next, or information from one computer to the next. That's essentially what it was morphed into. During the times of Atlantis and before, it was an energy power plant. Then it got destroyed a little bit after Atlantis went down. A little bit after that, some engineers moved in there, retrofitted it to be a hydrogen based energy plant. Then there were humans at the time, some barbaric humans that went in and killed the engineers and melted down some of the metal core in between. They caused a massive explosion, which is how you see the Great Pyramid today. This is as much as I know.
If I or any other human on the planet wanted to make contact with you or any other of the forest people, how do we do it?
It is with the intention that you are coming into contact with a genuine, genuine desire to make contact, not necessarily for fame, fortune, or evidence. We are sticklers on this. If you're going into just for evidence, maybe there's going to be some sticklers out there that will screw around with the camera. I'm guilty of this same thing. But the intention of them when they went to come see us was not necessarily for that level of contact. It was more like it was just more of a communication, brother to brother, sister to sister kind of thing. When you have that level spiritual backing and also mental and physical and energetic backing, when you go into this, we then will allow evidence to be gathered for those communication purposes. When you go into our environment, don't go into our environment as if you're going to bag a trophy. That's happened a million times throughout humanity's history with us. So we have become very, very, very cautious. Hence why we tend to play hide and seek so well. So in this particular way, when you come into our environment, you have the intention to communicate, but not necessarily violate our territory or say, I'm going to do this, bag a Sasquatch no matter what, either evidence-wise, hair, the DNA sample, and or camera, then we are welcome to your communications. Also, do not bear arms within our territory. Do not carry guns within our territories. We are abhorrent to weapons usage because humans have killed several of our people. So with that said, if you follow these guidelines coming into our territory. Ghost people, they like to use ghost boxes and things of that nature. We don't like those either. It is extremely rare that we do this. Now, if there's a tribe, this also differs from tribe to tribe. If there's a paranormal group or a Sasquatch group that wishes to communicate with us, like a human group that establishes that. Some groups find the yelling in the woods thing annoying. Other groups welcome it. Some people, some of our people like being filmed. Others do not. You have to intuit what you feel about a situation of what some of our people want. But the main gist of it is enter in peace, enter in calm, which is the word analam or calm in our language. Enter in with the intention of communications above all else, and we will respond in kind.
What is it about Christopher that made you more able to connect with him and or see him in this realm versus any other human? And did it have anything to do with his near-death experience?
Yes, that is a key part because of the fact his brain accelerated to the point where then he not only could see us but communicate with us better. He was aware of us before, but our people first communicated with him when he lived in Nebraska years ago and initiated contact that way. Notice that he was on a particular psionic frequency to where communications were possible. Most of the time, people communicate with us in dreams. That is, we are one of the only races that actually will engage people in that particular way that's positive. There are others, but most of them are trying to trick people in dreams. In this instance, we noticed that he had more of a greater capacity, and also his soul and energy signature was familiar to us. So therefore, we engaged in conversations more and more and more. And we noticed that his oversoul, or the greater him, or the greater library, was wanting this particular connection to commence. So this is how this began.
When you're not here with us or with Christopher and Joanna, what are you doing in your realm?
Well, it's not necessarily a different realm. We share the same realm, which would be essentially what Vikings would call Midgard, or the guarding the middle point. You are literally there right now. And you have all these other outer realms and an introverse full of worlds within worlds. We still sit on Midgard with you, but we're just in a different dial frequency. Other tribes may choose differently to go into other dimensions. I myself and my brother Seymour and my brothers Mirnak and Morak, we tend to go underground. We tend to go into a family unit that is underground in the wilds of Arizona. But we also have family structures on the surface in some of the wooded areas as well. You wouldn't see us per se. Some people have thought they've had ghost activity around them when it's us. But what I do in a typical day is essentially what any of you would. We have our work day. We even patrol different areas to make sure different negative forces aren't around. We tend to go hunting. We gather food, we gather water, we gather resources, and we communicate, with other forest people groups from around the area and the country. Now, there are other beings that do meet with us as well, and we also broker conversations with the Galactic Senate from time to time. This is essentially what my day looks like.
Are you ever in contact with ETs yourself?
Yes, quite often. Sometimes I want to say unfortunately, because some of the ones I have to deal with are quite arrogant, but like some tall white groups and the like, and some elfish type ones and the like, grays and things of that nature, and others that are on the Galactic Senate. But then you come across ones that are very peaceful and kind. And yes, my brothers and I do deal with, and my grandfather and us do deal with ET races on a regular and constant basis. There are others that are more ambassadors, like there's our cousin Kiosa. He is more in the Sedona area more often. He is more of an ambassador in that area and has an ambassadorial position in that area. But we also deal with ETs on a regular basis as well. Him more so, though.
Can you speculate on the total number of the population of forest people that are on the planet?
That is more of a loaded question because of also the multiple layers that some of us inhabit. You could have an entire civilization within a layer too. But if I had to judge, given all and counting not just North America, but like say, the Yowie of Australia or others, that go by different names. Almasti, Mink, any of those. Mink is more of a slur. By the way, it's more of like a racial slur. But those are more in China and other areas like Russia. But there are at least, how can I put it? Given what I know so far, I don't know the entirety of the number, but it's in the billions, just like your population is. If you count all of the ones that are in the different layers, now if you count just the layers, the layer that you can visually, most humanity can visually see, that's in the millions. But if you count all the different layers, our population almost matches your own.
Do you have any other urgent message for humanity at this time?
Well, the only urgency that I can think of, given with all of the political nonsense that you're under, all the theater puppets, as my brother so quaintly puts it, with your political theater, any of these things that are going on right now, what is crucial for each and every person that is on either side of the political fence, either side of whatever you believe, religious, anything, it is the calm and seeing the way forward. You do these things, and you remain in that particular state, no matter what any voices out there tell you, you literally are an unstoppable force. You are literally then the unstoppable force, or the immovable object within the unstoppable force. At that point, you will begin to see a greater perspective and perception of the environment around you. If I could relay anything, and also don't get tricked by other voices and other things that are around you. Know your own thoughts and know yourself at all times. You do these things, you will be that immovable object amidst the unstoppable force.
Fuma, I don't have any more questions. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. If nobody has any further questions, I will.
I think that was a great introduction.
Right. Thank you. Yes, blessings to all that are listening to this conversation. Thank you.
Were you with us during that conversation in the background, or?
At equal time, where we're shifting, kind of dancing around each other. I can talk to him with a separate conversation too, if I wanted to, since they're multidimensionally faceted. I literally can talk to him on certain things. It's not always smart to do that, mind you. You just let them talk, but I can do that if I want to.
But you won't necessarily remember the whole channel.
No,
Yeah.
no, I don't remember everything. I'll remember certain key points, but I don't remember every single word. No.
Do you ever go back and watch your channeling and go, oh, wow, I can't believe I channeled that?
Oh yeah, if I go back and watch that, I'll notice that sometimes my face transmutes to looking more like them, or depending on who it is and what frequency they're in. Like we did a channeling from some humans in a different timeline one time, and I noticed the energy that came out was vastly different than normally what I put out. You could clearly feel that it was different. Forest people, it's the same way. You can clearly feel, and sometimes even hear a difference. Some beings that come through will come through with an accent too. Like we have a Titan being by the name of Chrome. When he comes through, he has a Scandinavian accent. And we have like say a leprechaun being once a channel. They have an Irish accent. So you can tell where I interchange back and forth, because you'll hear the accent be lost and then come back, accent be lost and come back. You'll hear that rotation a little clearer if the being has a thick accent. Fuma's is more like ours. If he were to talk, his voice is slightly raspier, but his is more like ourselves. He doesn't have a foreign accent or anything like that. So you were hearing a mix between me and him. If Chrome came through, you definitely hear a difference. So they're in tone and pitch. It just depends on what frequency and dimension they're transmitting with or from, of how it comes through, and the connection of how it comes through. Fuma is with us around us quite often, so he comes through quite strong. But those are the differences. Like if we're on another show with yourself, for instance, and another being wishes to speak, you're going to hear a completely different tone. There, it could be a Nordic being, it could be Chrome, it could be our guide Isaac. When he comes through, he likes to tell jokes when he comes through. I don't recommend asking him anything like that, but because he tends to have more of a South Park Beavis and Butthead level of humor. But other than that, you'll see a distinct difference in personalities that come through. So it ends up getting to be quite interesting after a while.
Would you say that channeling is a result of your NDE, or it has been enhanced by your NDE?
I would say it's been enhanced by the NDE. Before I could do it, I could do automatic writing, things of that nature. And if I had to deal with anything demonic, I could basically trap it within more of a writing type of situation and just kind of burn the paper or do something like that. I was able to repel, not necessarily transmute or kill it, basically. After this, the channels got enhanced, and I was able to take care of darker beings with much more efficiency. After that, I came back with more of an enhancement or a rewiring. Now, did I lose things as a result? Yes. Like for the longest time, I couldn't operate my computer properly. It switched out for something else. Only in recent times have I put myself back and grounded myself into being able to do things properly. It was 2009 when that happened. It's taken this long to reacquire all that. To basically, I have a better foundation in this area. So therefore, I brought back what I had before and coupled it with it. Some people don't do that at all. Some people have an experience like that and they stay the other way and information's gone to the ether somewhere. I didn't want that because of the fact that I needed those skills that I learned in college, things of that nature, to be able to do this. So I had to reobtain all that. It's been difficult because the other is more of a non-grounded state and this is more of a grounded state. So you have to kind of know when to reground, when to reshuffle, when to kind of open what file cabinet and look at what file or what chapter of a book. That's how I've had to treat it. It's been fairly difficult, but it's manageable.
You guys are going to be at the Full Disclosure Now conference this summer, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Will you be speaking only for one day or multiple days?
I believe only one day. We're going to be doing our talk on, I don't know which day it is so far, but we're only going to be one day.
I think that you guys have a lot to talk about, and we only touched the surface of it today. If they want to find out more of what you're doing or what you're up to, should they go to your YouTube channel?
On YouTube, you can just go look for Christopher S. Jacobs. They'll find me. But the main source to look for the lifting is thelifting.net. That's where they'll literally find every link. Also to our sister site, Galactic Interversal Consortium. That's where we do a lot of the galactic history and stuff from all these other beings doing the galactic history, galactic senate, all that kind of stuff is over there. So any link that anyone wants to find about us in particular is thelifting.net. All show links to all the Rumble accounts we have with the different topics, to the YouTube account, to GIC. It's all there.
If people have questions, should they leave comments on your video, or do you have a contact form on your website?
Yeah, there's a contact form on the website, or they can use the email thelifting@proton.me. If you want to send a question in for a future Q&A episode we do, or if you want to get a session inquiry, it can be through that or through the website's interface. It's one of those two.
All right. Well, before we wrap it up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
I would say, like what Fuma said, I always, I've struggled with this in the past, where you don't know when you've been hijacked or if something is trying to mess with you in some way or shape or form. You have to know exactly who you are at all times. You have to have not like any other identity but the one you have. The positive side of this is when you obtain this, you will be able to literally be, as they said, the immovable object and the unstoppable force. That is very important to do right now. And with that with that level of positivity and balance, you must be balanced and, they said, calm. It doesn't mean that you don't experience the range of emotions, but at the same time, you can't pendulum swing or you become susceptible to influence. So the positivity in this is remain in that anomaly, calm state, as they would put it. No, Joanna, did you want to add anything?
Only that, from everything that we've heard and talked about over the years, what we can say is that if you think about humanity and everyone's soul and the collective soul's desire, there is a desire that is spoken about, that basically humanity wants to move into more of an organic unity, to be able to grow themselves to a place where again, we're ready for the galactic community. So with that, again, it's not about becoming Stepford wives or everyone thinking alike. It's about being able to honor and respect one another with fundamental foundational belief systems that everyone agrees to. And so right now, in all of this turbulence that's going on, you gotta have to think of it as, in order for us to collectively change and to be able to move into that area, we have to really see what's been happening. And some of this information has to come out as to how the world's been, operating. And then how do you gain the abilities and again, learn how to, with your intention, be able to be sovereign, genuine, authentic, and then to move the world and to move our experiences into a way that we all want it to be. That's what's really going on. So my big thing would be, although it's scary, try not to be fearful and spend some time every day daydreaming in how you want the world to be. Take some time to say, I want to meet other people from other countries and get along. I want to have good family experiences, and this is how we're acting and treating one another. I want to have good work experiences, and this is how we act at work and how we treat one another. This is us laughing about life or whatever. So daydreaming is, what does it taste like, smell like, see like, and then you'll basically are now telling the universe the types of experiences you want to have. So people need to get out of some of the fear and spend some time dreaming in the world you want it to be. And then that starts that full intention process and the world changes.
Christopher and Joanna, thank you for your messages and thank you for being my guest.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. It was great to be on your show. Thank you.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Really, really appreciate you having us on.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.